United States of America. It's as if I can see what is going on. And it depresses me. Greetings, guys. We all feel a little bit like Brad Garlinghouse now that Michael is here, don't you think? Presently, this video was actually shot a few months ago, and I believe it's. Brad Garlinghouse undoubtedly foresaw the future of the Bitcoin sector. Guys, I want to discuss the effects of the SEC's recent settlement with Kraken in this video. I truly have to say certain things that could surprise you. Keep in mind to remain here because you guys are here. You will absolutely want to watch that at the end of the movie, and I also want to show you something that I think the SEC actually got right here, despite the fact that they were also completely wrong in how they brought the case. Something incredibly startling. You're going to want to stay around when Joe Lubin released a statement on his thoughts on the SEC's most recent enforcement actions. To the video's conclusion to see that. Always, folks, thank you so much for your support. You can subscribe to this channel to see more. Please click the like and subscribe buttons below for more videos like this. And enable bell notifications. These 3 little steps can make a big difference. It actually means a lot to me if you guys ever need a nice site to buy some XRP. And making this channel thrive. With that stated, let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy the stuff. To start off this video, I want to make a statement that will probably shock a lot of people. Make sure to check out my favorite interaction uphold down in the description of this video. I actually concur with the SEC that Kraken staking as a service product was a security, so that's something else. I noted in a tweet earlier today that Kraken staking as a service was probably a security. People relied on Kraken to deliver the yield, not the protocol, and there is a significant distinction between actively staking a client's asset in a self-hosted wallet and developing a yield product where staking is only an element of the achieved return. Having said that, the SEC ought to be offering advice rather than filing cases. Such things might be achievable with guidance. The SEC, however, desires authority, and what I'm highlighting here is the fact that the SEC wasn't mistaken in. Their main argument against Kraken is Kraken was essentially offering a 20% profit in exchange for you staking your cryptocurrency with us. Staking wasn't really yielding a 20% return. Kraken claimed that staking an asset would generate a yield of 10% and that the remaining 10% would be obtained by lending out some of the asset's assets. This is known as Kraken staking. Actually, the product wasn't only for them. To be perfectly honest, this is a security, so they were doing other things while they were staking to attempt to make up the yield and provide you your return. Nobody was relying on the protocol. They relied on Kraken to take all necessary measures to make up for the yield that this fracking was promising in order to bring them their yield. That is not conceivable with Bitcoin. You cannot even stake Bitcoin, thus Kraken was lending rather than staking. It is an investment since you depend on Kraken to provide you with that yield. Loan out someone else's cryptocurrency is a securities transaction. Having said that, I do not necessarily concur with the SEC in this matter. This case should not have been filed by the SEC. Instead of letting Kraken do this for years and then randomly coming after them and saying, hey, you messed up, here's a large lawsuit, and screwing them over, the SEC should have made it plain to the market that what Kraken was doing was wrong and that it was a security the way they were doing it. It's crucial to realize that the SEC won't offer any guidelines, which is why Bitcoin companies behave in such a manner. Nobody is aware of the boundary, which makes it possible for these Bitcoin businesses to enter as well. I agree with the SEC's conclusion that the Kraken staking product was probably a secure one, but I disagree with them filing the action. If there were clear standards, they wouldn't be so close to the line, thus the SEC should push regulation by enforcement instead of just giving counsel to the market. We need direction if we are to act as they did. Before the SEC sues these firms, I'd want to add that, in my opinion, not all staking will constitute a security. If Kraken were just to stake your assets and pay you the yield, you wouldn't be able to rely on it. Kraken for that yield, the yield comes from the protocol, therefore don't expect all staking will be security because that yield is coming from the protocol. The SEC was likely correct to classify Kraken's product as a security, but it has to stop pushing regulation by enforcement and start offering direction. Kraken was offering a product that was a security. Because the SEC is not providing us with advice, we will likely do something similar, but not quite as bad as this. This will turn out to be another isolated instance, and another cryptocurrency company will likely do similar, but not quite as bad of a step. I want to continue and show you guys now. I truly do agree with Tim Draper's opinion on many of the numerous topics he discusses, especially in the financial community. He was an early investor in XRP and Ripple. It will help you guys understand, and I think he makes a really solid argument, so I want to show you what he has to say regarding the SEC's conduct. Despite the fact that the SEC is probably correct, I think he is wrong, and I'll explain why to you guys in the enforcement action. The way they are going about it is still terrible for the sector. Pay attention to this. My greatest illustration is Korea, which was divided into North Korea and South Korea. The authorities in North Korea made the decision to rule over everyone and direct their behavior. They collaborated because they were a Marxist, socialist, and communist group, and they were. People were freed under such initiative in South Korea because it had faith in them. They established a democracy, practiced capitalism, and allowed free markets and open government. The typical South Korean now earns 460 times as much as the average North Korean, and the average South Korean is 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. This has been the case for the past 70 years. So it seems very obvious to me that if people are freed, they will prosper. If you believe in them and let them go, I consider that to mean that the overall situation is okay. There are nations who are sort of competing for us, some of which are putting us down and saying with strong leaders are refusing. We have a new technology now, and it started with Bitcoin and is now the blockchain contracts and DAOs that are destined to fundamentally revolutionize society. The weak governments are the ones screaming, "Oh, we have to stop this." Some are saying, "We trust you, we're going to set you free." This awful situation. Who or what are we? I want to continue ruling people through my own money, banking system, and other means. Then there are the powerful nations and strong leaders who are urging people to accept this. Let's trust. Let's free our people, construct something of enormous value, and in 40 years those governments will be the ones making 460 times as much as the other governments and standing 4 inches taller. What a fantastic clip from Tim. Draper is one of my favorite individuals to listen to discuss cryptocurrencies, and I believe he really nails it. The SEC wants to control everything, halt innovation, and prevent Americans from doing anything. The use of cryptocurrencies will ultimately be ineffective. It will fall flat. The innovation will prevail over the SEC. Better to embrace it. The SEC is attempting to protect all of the major banks from being overwhelmed by this industry, but by doing so, he will only hurt everyone. Instead, if he accepted the threat and created a framework that would allow cryptocurrencies to thrive, the banks would probably be able to adopt them, and the country as a whole would be in a better position. The best thing for America would be if Gary Gensler resigned, but instead he is stifling innovation. The good news is that, despite my harsh criticism of them for taking too long to investigate Gary Gensler, it appears that the party in command of the House will move through with the investigation. They are taking too long, yet in their defense they probably are since they have only been in office for a few months. Since the government moves slowly, it's difficult to expect them to actually be looking into Gary Gensler. However, I must accept the fact that they are holding him accountable and appear to be requesting information from him. There are some bodies buried with Gary Gensler at the SEC and FTX in regard to the FTX folks, so it appears that this will be the route Republicans take to try to demonstrate to the world that Gary Gensler cannot be trusted to regulate the cryptocurrency sector. We'll have to wait and watch how this develops. No matter what you think of Gary Gensler, he is a skilled politician. Let's see how it turns out in the best case scenario, as he will probably figure out how to wriggle out of most of this. Scenario: and I've been saying it for a while, where Gary Gensler is under so much pressure that he simply flees and resigns. We know Gary Gensler wants to work for the Treasury, and we know Janet Yellen wants to leave the Treasury, so let's watch how things pan out and see how we can apply pressure to him. What we might be seeing right now is him clearing out all the cases and making it seem like he has a stellar crypto resume just before he leaves. I want to finish this because while it's a good start, we'll need more. Cut the video and start a conversation. Extremely funny Joe Lubin, who is known for making illogical claims, stated last week that he believes there is no likelihood that death will be considered a security risk. The craziest thing about all of this is that there are so many centralized people staking for Ethereum, which is safeguarding the network, and he's coming out and saying, hey, bribed the SEC a long ago, so we probably won't be in problem with this. Oh, and despite the SEC taking enforcement actions against similar conduct, we are really not concerned about it because we already paid them off. It's completely ridiculous. I'm not sure if he actually believes there is no risk because of his connections to the government, or if he just finds it amusing to press people's emotions like this, but either way, it's horrifying. Really, I despise this person. I do have to say this guy does not care about anything. If I were him right now, I would not give a damn about any of the comments he makes about XRP just because of what he did. With everything that has transpired, I would have resigned from Consensus long ago. Even though I despise him, I kind of like the idea that he's just going to state that he doesn't seem to care. Regardless of what he wants, I thought this was quite crazy, as it is evident. It demonstrates how out of touch he truly is. What you get for being close to the SEC in this world. He received a free pass and continues to receive a free pass, after all. Though Ripple is going to receive the clarity they need through the courts, FTX's free pass makes you wonder whether Ripple simply should have bought off some folks to get the pass through the front door. Either way, Ripple is going to acquire that clarity and they're going to do it the proper way. The SEC will be forced to follow them. They will be unable to attend. Back from them and Ethereum, the question of whether this is a security measure or not and what is going on with ETH will always be present. Anyway, gentlemen, I really appreciate your attending, and I'm just glad that everything will soon be over with. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this update. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you did. Pickle out for the time being.